Welcome in, Rod and Jordan. Good to see you, man.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here today, Jordan. Good to see everybody in the audience. Did I miss last week, Rod? I did, right? I feel like
yes,
I've not.
you left me and Kenny there alone
I
at
did.
the end. I was like,
I
what
hear
do I
you
do
guys
with
did
my
good.
hands?
I got some complaints, but not too many. So
Not many this time. Okay, good. It was like 100 last time. Okay, good.
well, anyway, we got Jordan in here, which I'm excited about. You guys are gonna love talking to him. He built a great business over the last, I guess, 8 months. It's been now. Is that accurate, Jordan?
Yeah, since April of last year, so however long that's been.
Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, we're going to dive in with Jordan about his business, what helped him grow, things he's learned. If you have questions that you want us to ask Jordan, drop them in the chat, and we'll pull a couple here and there at the start. And then, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes in or so, we'll jump over to just Q&A and do the normal thing. So, Jordan, thanks for being here. And I guess just kind of start from the beginning. Like, where were you and what got you initially interested in real estate media?
So I back in kind of like my early 20s, I had gotten into video and photography and things like that, and dabbled around, taught myself stuff. Know that I really liked it, but I'd never considered myself a photographer or a videographer, things like that. But I was always trying to find something to do with like kind of these skills and things that I had picked up. And honestly, it was probably a couple of years ago. I just have a lot of friends that are realtors. And so I never wanted to be a realtor. I never really thought that life would be for me. But I was like, I can do photography. I was like, I can shoot some of your guys' listings. And I felt like I could make houses look really good. So I really didn't know anything about real estate photography or anything like that. So I just started watching like some YouTube videos and different things like that. And kind of started learning. I was, editing everything in Lightroom, like blending things together. I could never get it to look like as good as anybody else's photos. So through that time, I started getting a few more listings from just a couple of my friends. And I think that's about the time I started seeing your TikToks that were just coming up on my page. And I was like, man, this guy makes it he's teaching me everything that I want to know, and through watching this. And at that time, I was kind of like I said, I was working at warehouses. I was trying to work my way up through that whole process. And I wasn't really happy with it. Pretty much kind of when you're in those fulfillment centers, if you don't have a degree or anything, you're always just going to get passed over.
Gotcha.
So I was really looking to go, okay, I want to go full-time into real estate photography, but I'm scared because I've only done a few listings here and there. And I just don't know what to do. So I kind of always consider myself I'm not the best at figuring things out on my own, but if somebody shows me the way, I can follow a map and directions to the T. As soon as I know how to do it, I'll just do it over and over and over again. So that's kind of when I just looked a little bit more into you and found the coaching and ended up getting on the call with Rod. And that was the moment when I was like, okay, this is going to give me everything I need. I'm going for it. Cause I'm I need that little push. That's I have to work super hard. If I have my job, I'm going to have all these excuses, I'm tired and all that stuff, because that's just me. So I kind of just decided to get out, make the jump, and go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to fast forward a little bit, and we'll kind of jump around. Rod, if you have questions, jump in. But you obviously got to work with us in coaching, but that doesn't mean, you made over 80 grand in 8 months. That's not something that everybody does, right? Yeah. That's you did the work. So what from your perspective allowed you to get really good results besides just the roadmap?
So I my business is at least currently right now, the way that the model says is a little bit different than most. I do a lot of work. My first client ever was a builder here in Arizona, and they were, my wife actually is a sales associate for them. So I was taking pictures for her and videos, and she was just posting them on her Instagram to use to promote. And they actually reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to start doing photos for some of our specs? And they told me that they were transitioning to a spec builder. So they were going to start just building homes and then people can come buy them. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I started just getting a couple jobs here and there. And that was maybe like a couple months before coaching. And then basically I would do photos and a video for the MLS and, get a couple jobs here and there. And then once I started coaching and then I learned like some of the other things, I came back to them and not only like impressed them with my new results and how fast that I could get things done, but all of kind of the new things I've learned. So now I don't just do like a photo and video for them. I do photos for their MLS, and then I do the Cuba Casa tours, like that virtually stages it. So I make those videos for them, and I do like drone and stuff on each side. And then I virtually stage the photos for them as well. And they love all of those. So for all of their specs and things like that, they send me out to, or let me backtrack a little bit. Once I started bringing that to the table, they decided to have me do all of their specs in all of Arizona. And so I drive all over to new build communities and I offer this package. So it's like, it's a pretty hefty package. So I have a really good average order value. So I do that, and that's what's allowed me to get to the results that I have currently.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's super cool. I think a lot of times people, we talk just real estate photography. We talk about real estate agents. So people think those are the only clients that you can have, but like, your business is it more than half the revenue comes from builders, you would say?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably at least 3/4.
Yeah, so you have a big portion of builders. And I think that's something cool to consider. Like at our business, Norman and Young, it's a significant chunk. It's not half. I'd say it's probably like 15-20%. And so I'm glad. And that was kind of one of the things I knew about you that I thought would be cool to talk about is like the different angles and the different ways you can take things. You shoot for builders. Lots of people do. And so if you're in a place, Arizona has a lot of new build communities going on right now, right? DFW, where Norman and Young does. Some communities do and some don't. So if they do, you can really like push into that side of things. And they're great to shoot because, I guess you talk about it a little bit, Jordan. Like, what do you like about shooting? Because you've shot for realtors too. What do you like about shooting for builders over realtors?
So like the best part about the builders is they're all empty homes. So if you like that or not, but they're all empty homes. They're brand new. And basically they book me like a community at a time. So they'll be like, this community needs 5 houses done. And I can just show up. And, I don't have to meet anybody there. I just show up. I do all the photos. I do all my work. I get everything back. I send it in. I rarely ever have a revision. They take it. They're like, this is great. Love it. Go on. So, you kind of take out that aspect of having to deal with picky clients and all of that stuff. And they're, really big, wealthy companies. So like they don't mind spending the money and paying you the travel fee and doing those different things like that. That like when I work with realtors, especially to try to get clients, I don't have any travel fee, but for like the builders and those companies, they told me to put it on there. So it's like, all right.
No, I love that. It's also true. It's also like, so for the people out there that are existing real estate photographers that don't shoot for a lot of builders, you can get builders in a similar way to how you get real estate agents. It takes a little bit longer sometimes, like because you have to deal with the marketing manager, depending on how big the company is and that kind of thing. But it's so worth finding those type of clients because what Jordan's saying is the experience pretty much everybody says working with builders, like they're so great to have. And the cool thing is too, there's nothing better than, this is what I was originally going to say, like, you have 10 shoots in a day and they're all new homes in a community. You're getting paid like $5,000 for that. It's so good. And so those were like, we didn't do it as much as Jordan, but like they're the most fun days ever. Aaron and I, it was back in the day when we do a lot of them, we'd show up and we would I would go through and turn on all the lights. There was somewhere it was literally like 5 homes in a row, right? So I'd go through and turn on all the lights and I'd see him going in and out of each house shooting. It's just like a lot of fun. Anyway, and they pay well. So you have that builder. What else was kind of involved, I guess, in building your business? And is it pretty much you working with that builder? Like, what else do you do, and who are you shooting for typically? A lot, real estate agents as well, or what's that look like?
Yeah, so I still, I did the Instagram method heavy when I first started. I need to be better at it still because I really do want to grow the realtor side of my business. So I have a couple of really good clients that use me a couple of shoots a month, and things like that, but I want more. One of the other things that I've just started doing, and it actually is from my relationship with the builder, they hire me to come out and do headshots and teach realtors how to make reels. And then I get to network with all of them and give them my business card and tell them to hire me. So I just did one of those yesterday. I got another one in a couple of weeks, and they want to do a couple more at a couple different communities. So me and the builder have the same interest in, we want realtors. Yeah. So we kind of get to put those together, and they want realtors at their community. And if in doing that, I get to work with them and give them my business card and information as well. We also did one where I offered, if realtors came to the community and made content, I would give that realtor a free photo shoot. And they liked that idea so much, they told me that they would pay me for all of the shoots that I did for realtors.
So you're getting paid to do what everybody's doing for free at the start. Yeah. That's not a bad deal. So, okay, everybody's question is basically going to be like, well, how the heck do I get a builder? So I know the one builder, you had a little bit of a connection there. You did good work and that brought them. Do you have any insight or things you've learned working with builders for someone that's I'd love to get some builder clients? Anything you've learned, or who you would talk to at a builder? What are your thoughts in that way?
So from the few that I work with, it's their marketing manager. The person that's in charge of all of their marketing, that's usually the person that they hire to do photography. You want to go for the builders that are more spec builders, and they're going to be making spec homes, because that's what they need photography from. Basically, they're going to build this house and hope that somebody buys it the way it is. If you're looking at ones that are 9 months build and people go to the design center to do all that as soon as they buy it, they usually won't need photography for those. So you want to find certain ones that are just making houses and they're going to post them on the MLS. And those are the ones that you want to go after.
Gotcha. So versus a custom builder where they're building for somebody, or a community where it's they build it after you buy it. You're wanting ones where they, and are most of the communities you're shooting, how luxury are they? Or do you have a rough idea on the price point? I know it's a little different everywhere, but
it depends here, because they have all. I've done all types. I've done townhomes, first-time home buyers, kind of 2,000 square feet, and then 3,000 to 3,500 in that range, kind of all over, depending.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, and that's an important point. I just want to reiterate what Jordan said. You don't want to go for the builders that are they're okay as clients. I mean, we have custom home builders at Norman & Young as clients that are decent, but if you're looking for the volume, you really want to go to those ones that are just even if they're bigger companies that, exist in multiple states, it doesn't mean it's going to be impossible for you to get the business. And so we've done work for LGI Homes and some of the other big home builders. And so don't be afraid of that, as my 2 cents. For anybody out there that's wanting to get a builder, they break their company down into local markets, right? So there's still somebody that's in charge of it. Maybe it's a state. In some cases, maybe it's just a community. So there's different levels of it. And the cool thing with a lot of this is it's not that hard to figure out who's in charge, because they're trying to market the homes. So it's you can, if you want to be aggressive with it, you can go to a new build community and ask, right? You can also probably find that thing on LinkedIn. So, I mean, any other thoughts for people shooting for builders, mistakes you made or things you wish you would have known?
I don't know so much about any mistakes, really yet, not that I can think of. But one thing I did want to add too is that the sales associates at the new build place, or whatever, the community, they need, their job is to also promote and market the home. And I know most places, they require their sales associates to post on Instagram a certain amount of times a day. So I always tell people, when they say that they do want to get in with a new build, go to that community, talk to the person, and offer to give them photos, videos, things like that they can post on their Instagram. Because then that's a good way to get to the person that is kind of in charge with all of it as well.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Rod, what you got in there? You have something cooking you want to ask?
Man, well, I know we originally spoke, like you were saying, back in April. So first of all, it's really cool to see what you've done. First of all,
Thank you.
and one thing in my notes I had from my call is, I guess this is like a pretty serious question. It was notes I had from our first call, but you said that you like golf and you wanted to play that more. Is that happening? I need to know.
He hasn't played a round in the last 8 months. He's been building.
Have you even played golf once since we last spoke? How's your time?
You haven't gone once?
I haven't. Have you gone once since we last spoke?
Yes, I have, but I have not been in probably the last 3 months. Because my business really started to take off in August. Like that's when I really started getting busy. I'd say from April till then, I was in the trenches, kind of going into debt, trying to figure things out. And then once August to even now, I've been pretty busy. However, I have upgraded all of my golf equipment.
That's all.
So the next time I go out, I'm ready to go.
So it was kind of a trick question. I love that you you put your head down. I think that kind of goes to like how you attack this is you just, ever since our first call, man, you were like, when I get on calls with people, it's either they have, and it's normal for someone to maybe be uncomfortable with like a big decision of building a business, but sometimes people are like, I'm uncomfortable, but I don't care. Let's go. And you had a goal of replacing your job within 30 days and getting out of your job within 30 days. You said your wife, right, was the connection? Yeah. Is that Marley?
Yes.
Okay, phew, I thought you were going to say something. Okay, so that was your fiance at the time. So congrats on that.
She was, yeah.
As well. So, but there was a cool thing that like your mentality in our first call was like that attack mindset, like just, hit it. But there was a cool win you had in the wins channel we had at one point that I wanted to look at and just kind of pick your brain on a little is you said you wrote on your goal board when you started back in April that you wanted to hit a 14 grand month by the end of October. And you hit a 15 grand month. And it's funny, like when I see people like you that like hit, like they aim for a goal and they say you want to hit a goal. It's funny. They hit what they aim for. Like people, like if they aim low, they hit low, they aim high, they hit like, as long as we're doing the necessary steps with our head down towards the goal, we'll hit that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it's it's interesting how you set a goal of 14 grand and hit it within the 6 months too. So like, how was that side as far as like belief, like, walk through that side as far as like the mindset, get as mindset talk as you want, but like, what do you think was a big driving factor for you to do what you've done? Because it's not common someone's going to do what you've done, even with connections or builder clients or anything like that. So what do you feel like was that driving thing to make you hit that big of a goal in 6 months?
It's crazy that happened because this whole thing, being an entrepreneur, kind of going after this, it's all new to me. I have not really been that kind of person before. Like the reason I was trying to work up in the warehouses is because I've always been like stability and all of that stuff is kind of what I was going for. But when I decided to do this, I was just taking in all of the stuff that like you guys were saying. And so we had our call, and I think our goal at the end of the 6 months was 7K. And then I watched Eli's videos, and you're like, one of the first things on there is like, if your goal is 7K, double it. I was like, okay. And I had this board, and I like literally wrote 14K by the end of October, and I still have it actually. But I wrote that on there, and every goal that I wrote down throughout this entire process has come to pass. And it's I honestly believe it's from writing it down, having it visible, and believing it. I'm honestly a little bit shocked at like how that's actually happened. It surprised me even a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's, I think it's, the time horizon that you set is like just enough time to achieve something that's just out of what you think is possible. So it's like you can set a 2-month goal and you can like really take a swing at it, but it's like there's only so much you can do in 2 months. And so I think part of it is, from my perspective, is a lot of people, they set a goal that's like requires them to be furiously doing it the entire time without stopping. And it would be possible in 2 months, but it's like if you expand your time horizon a little bit and then you set a big goal, that makes it a lot more achievable. That doesn't make it easy the whole time though. So were there any like big, the thing that I like to bring up on these is we don't talk too much about like, we will talk about specific tactics, but we're not talking about like who's your editor and stuff like that, because that absolutely doesn't matter, right? It doesn't play out at all. And the reason I bring that up is because people have access to the same info, but do very different things with it. And a lot of times the reason they do different things with it is because they have things come up that make them go, oh, it's different for me. Like, oh, this happened or this happened. Like everybody has something that happens while they're doing it, right? Some people have it harder, some people have it easier. What was hard for you about the process? Like, are there any challenging things you went through, or like just kind of connect in that way? Because I think a lot of people feel that.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was a lot of things hard. I try to like make it sound like it was all great. But I mean, especially those first 3 months, I did not make much money. And I was like going into debt, paying for editing and all of that stuff that I had to do. But I really believed that if I got to where it could, that, it would pay off. So finding the motivation to do the Instagram method and like just sending out all these DMs and getting denied and people not looking at it and all that stuff. Like it was really hard. That my first, so like I told you, August is when things started getting busy, and I made 10K in August. July, I made $800 before. So, and the other months before that were pretty similar. But August is when I kind of had the idea to start doing all of this stuff for the builder instead of just a couple of, houses here and there.
Yeah.
But that 3 months of not knowing when I was going to get paid and seeing the credit card amount go up and all these different things, like I was definitely very scared or nervous, but I never doubted that I wasn't doing the right thing. I was like, this is going to work.
Why did you think it was going to work? Like, not that that's unreasonable, but a lot of people, that 3 months kills them, or the 2 months, or even a couple of weeks of nothing kills them. What was different for you?
The community, honestly. I saw it work for everybody else, and I was listening to everybody that it had worked for say, if you keep doing it, if you keep trying, if you keep at it, and like that was a big, huge thing for me, was getting to know this entire community of real estate, media companies and all that stuff, and seeing other people win and seeing other people go through the same struggles. I was like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now. I just got to keep pushing through.
It really does make a difference. It's so like, it's like that meme, that everybody's seen where it's like, there's two guys digging and like one of them is like, he stops one swing away from the diamonds. The problem is it feels worse than the meme makes it sound like, oh, you just keep going. It's like, no, it sometimes actually just sucks. Like you've sent a ton of DMs, or like you have, there was someone the other day in our community who, they finally got their first shoot, right? They'd sent a ton of DMs. And I say finally, it wasn't that long. It was like 3 or 4 weeks of trying. They got their first shoot and they went and did the shoot, and they thought they had messed it up pretty bad. Now they really hadn't, but they got in that frame of like, I messed it up, and they were about ready to just be done with the business. And it's like, that's what that feels like, right? It feels like you did 3 months of work or 3 weeks of work or 1 week of work even. You finally got it, and someone tells you your work sucked or you messed it up, right? And then you have 10 more of those things happen throughout the time. Now you have some wins in between, right? But it makes you get discouraged. So that's why I always like to take it kind of quote unquote negative on here, because I think the worst thing for somebody is to come in with too much like, oh, it's going to be awesome, I'm just going to make money easily overnight. Like that's a scam if someone says it that way, right? And like, everybody knows that you can make money with hard work. Now it's easier if you do, if you're digging one hole instead of 3 at the same time, but even just doing one still requires that. So, you did stuff for 3 months. It started to curve. You made 10K in August. That was just a bunch of builder shoots, I guess, is what changed that? Okay.
Yeah. So even then, like that kind of started, it didn't fully start with the package that I offer them now. But I was going around doing reels for all of their models, because they asked me to do one for one community and then they loved them. And so I had to go do reels for all of their models along with other shoots and different things like that. So that one was even more like a lot more 10K than what a 10K would be like right now. Cause I was doing a lot of like $150, $200
volume
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you take a second to stop and be like, that was crazy, I made 10K, or was it just like full busy after that? Like, how did that first month?
My wife and I actually went out to celebrate like a couple of days after, and I was like, I can't believe it. And the craziest thing was when I did that 10K, I had 0 booked for September. So I was like, we did 10K, but I don't know if we're gonna do any more.
So what happened? Did you do any more, or how was the next month?
Did 10K again the next month. Yeah, I haven't been below 10K since August.
Okay, and then just skipping, we talked about some painful stuff. You had a $27,000 a month in December. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. So December, I ended up 27,000 just in total revenue.
Yeah.
But that is just from like the package that I offer that has all those virtual staging and all that. So that's 865. So that is just like a bunch of those.
Dude, nice.
And the thing too about the builders is when they're not selling, they have more specs that need photography and stuff. So right now the market's a little bit slower. People aren't buying, so they have just a ton of specs ready. So I already matched what I did in December for January.
Okay, I gotta ask, because we already asked about the first one. What felt better, 10 or 27? Like, genuinely.
27, for sure.
Some people have like this milestone that like blows their mind, and then they're just numb after that. So okay, fair enough on the 27. Now
I was like actually mind blown. I couldn't believe it, even when I was writing it out to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's so funny because it's like when you get to these levels, you just kind of reset what your baseline is. So now if you do like a 12K month, you're gonna be like, what happened? But it's still like such a good month compared. Rod, anything else that comes to mind?
No, I like that you brought up we should call it a name. It's like the first 2 to 3 months of it is kind of the discouraging phase, because you're putting all this work in and it feels like just nothing's happening, or a little bit is happening. And then, like you said, the editing's adding up, all these things are adding up, and it's just that fear just kicks in. It's like, but you had that like trust of the process. Seeing, like, I like how you said the community was a big part of that, because that's why I love community, because that's when you see others doing it, you're like, okay, there is a light at the end of this somewhere. And when it hits, it hits. And what I've noticed from all the people that I've seen back there is that the first 2 or 3 months is like slowish. I mean, sometimes it hits for people right off the rip, but that's not
normal. Count on that. Yeah. Don't count.
I always say don't count on it. It can happen, but it's just not normal. But usually it's like it hits like a Mack truck when it does around the 3rd or 4th month, if someone has continued to keep doing. So what happens is people start changing things and almost like flailing, like, let me change this, let me change that. It's like, no, keep doing it. Like you said, like people just recommend keep doing it, because that's easier said than done, to just maintain something we psychologically think is not working in that time, but just stick with it. But you did. And that's the hard part for people, I think, is pushing through those first 2 months, 3 months, maintaining positive energy, maintaining good vibes, because agents can notice it if it gets off, maintaining all that to allow it room for it to happen. A lot of times people just kind of start to stricken that possibility of allowing a 10 grand month to happen or a 27 grand month December to happen. Yeah. So it's, I thought that was just really admirable that you did push through that phase, because it is easier said than done, but it's a great reward if you do maintain it. And I thought that was cool that you did that. And I thought the 14 or the 15 grand month that you posted was crazy. Then here comes dang 27 grand month in December. Again, the fearful December too. Yeah. I was like, what is happening? I'm like scared to see what you're gonna do in busy season. Like, and you're solo, right? You don't have any photographers, right? So you're solo.
It's just me for right now.
So I'm happy, but also scared to see what busy season's going to do to you. You're not going to ever play golf again, man. We're not going to be able to
We're going to start calling and the builders at the same time. He's going to be like,
no, I just say, I don't even think that was a question. It was more just admiring that, like, that first 2-3 months is not easy to push through that. And I think you said you jumped out of your job too in that 3 months, right? You left your job in that 3 months?
Oh yeah, I left my job the moment I started coaching. So.
Oh man, you told me 30 days. You quit the next day. Okay,
hey, that's what he did. He beat his own. He said it. He beat his own goal right off the bat. He was like, "Well, I'm going to set a goal that I can control. 30 days. I'm quitting my job. Doing it today."
Walk me through that, because, like, I mean, it's obviously a common thing we've seen in people that, like, they left their job and did this, but I know a lot of scenarios it's just not, the way it can work. For a lot of scenarios, it depends, but what was that like? Just kind of curious on just that decision to walk away from your job, and then 3 months after that, $800 a month is coming in. So that's probably what stemmed a lot of the nervousness. But yeah, walking away from your job and deciding that, like, how did that Like I imagine you were back and forth before it, then you were like, let's just do it. Like, how was that going through?
Yeah, so I did have my builder client before I quit, but I was getting maybe like $1,000 a month from them, maybe sometimes almost two. And so in my mind, I was like, I really only need $2,500 a month to replace the income that I'm making from this warehouse job. I was like, I can do that. And I had a little bit of savings. So I was like, if it takes me 2 months, I think I'm going to be okay. Well, when you don't work, that saving goes down a lot faster than I thought.
And then 3 months comes around, you're like, what the heck? $800 third month. You're like, hold on a second.
Hey, that's what credit cards are for. You know what I'm saying? This is a joke, everybody. Don't do that.
Like, oh my gosh.
It did make me feel better. I mean, I'm not saying to do it, but it did make me feel better when I heard Alex Hermosi talk about that in his $100 million leads. I was like, okay, I'm not as bad as what he was doing.
Yeah. No, but, the community thing is so like on both sides. You need people to like see people do crazier stuff than you, and you need to see people winning. The problem, I think, for a lot of people is like, let's say they've been doing it for 6 weeks, right? Pretty hard, and they don't see a lot of results, or they don't feel a lot of results because they've been building. Then they see someone their second week post a win about how they got $5,000 that week. That's when people really get messed up, because then they forget about it's just, it's just I'm doing it wrong versus I need to do more of it. So like, did you see anybody that, had a win faster, and how did that not make you think you were off track, I guess?
I saw lots of people that had wins faster or were moving along faster and had more clients. And I really had to not even compare to like what other people were doing and just try to like focus and do my own thing. Cause I know you guys have talked about it millions of times, but even the competition stuff, there's other people around in my area doing the same thing. And it's so easy to be like, oh, they're better than me, or they, blah, 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 and they do all that stuff. And I really had to, because I can get in my own head a lot. I really just had to focus on what I can do and what I can control. And honestly, the coaching calls and these live Q&As and hearing from you guys is really what kept me on that path, being like, okay, I can do this. I got this. This is normal. I'm following the right things. I'm doing the right stuff. Just focus on what I can do. And that's, all I can do.
What?
Yeah, and we're not saying too, by the way, like I think sometimes when people hear that, they're like, oh, I got to quit my job to get baller results like Jordan. Okay, but we've also seen like people like Scott or Brian Badillo that we had on that he had 3 jobs and replaced them all one at a time. So, it's whatever your situation is, but it's what's the biggest thing is that you just trusted and knew and wrote it and saw it every day, the goal you're going to hit, and that was burned into your brain. And you just, I think once it's there, it's looked at every day. It just starts to naturally reverse engineer. So a combination, obviously, with coaching and strategic attack, but with that mindset too, I think that, I don't know, it's just really cool to see. It's so fun to see, like back in April, we first spoke, and then to see where you're at now. Again, it's so cool.
It's crazy, especially 227K months. I wanted to bring up something you mentioned. You said you get in your own head a lot. I think, I would say most people do, or maybe I'm just someone that also does, and so it makes me think most people do. But either way, there's people out there that do. A lot of times the result is them kind of like disengaging. Like you kind of get in your own head and then justify it and then kind of move away. So like you said the community and stuff, but you also said before that you had like something you would almost like coach yourself through. Like, I guess how did you think about that when you got into those times where you're like, I don't know? Like, was that you snapping yourself out of it, or how did you get back in the groove, I guess?
No, I wouldn't say that I snap myself out of it, because I can be my own worst enemy sometimes. But yeah. I really draw it back to the community, like the community and the coaches, and like listening to things that you guys said. It was just really motivating. And when I see other people going through the same thing, or like advice that applies to my certain situation, that really can snap myself out of it and be like, okay, I got to go do this and set it up this way. And really making a routine for myself to do also was important.
Are you saying like a routine in terms of, hey, I'm going to go to these calls, I'm going to engage in the community, or like what do you mean by routine?
Yes. Sorry about that. So engaging in the community is something that I challenged myself to do when I started, because I am not a big like poster or like asking questions or different things like that. Like I always want to try to learn, but I'm not going to say, hey, I need help. But when I started, I challenged myself. I was like, you're going to ask questions on calls. You're going to post stuff in there. You're going to like you're going to get everything that you need out of this and step outside your shell. And I think that that's really helped me, you know, even in growing the business. Because like I said at the beginning, I told all my friends I never even wanted to be a realtor. And it was because of all the stuff that realtors have to do. And now I'm doing all those things. I'm cold calling people and reaching out and handing out business cards and networking and all that stuff. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I just think it's interesting because that's like you have like a lot of perspectives that are like from someone who's been in business before and learned the hard way. But like I mean, sure, you had to learn the hard way a little, but like not really, which I think is really interesting. And I think that's why you've grown fast. You had most people need to get like kicked in the mouth more before they're like, I should probably try to learn from other people. Like I was dumb. I thought I had to just grind it all out myself. You know, it took me forever. Have you always been like that? Or, I mean, you said the interesting thing to me is you said you didn't really think of yourself as like being an entrepreneur, but I think you have like so many of the traits that make someone crush it as one. So what made you think you weren't one? Or didn't you?
I think I just never tried. And in my past, and I'm getting better at it, but things that I don't know or I don't know how to do scare me, and I don't want to do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm okay. But doing this has really like brought me out of my shell to like try all these new things. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that I'm not great at, especially still cold calls. Like I'm not good at but I couldn't have even told you like a year and a half ago that this is what I would be doing. Like I wouldn't believe.
How crazy is that? Oh, Well, we got a couple more minutes. I do want to ask about what's next for you, and then maybe Rod, if you have a final question you want to ask, what do you see as the future for your business, Jordan? Like, what do you want to build? What's the goal here?
So I do want a full, successful, real estate media company. My goal is eventually for me and my wife to kind of do this together and take over stuff. Her income is a lot more to supplement than mine was, so we got to get to that point. But that's our goal for 2025 and 2026 is to get our company to that point that we're doing it together, and then growing it the way that we're supposed to, hiring photographers and things like that, and then buying back that time so I can play some golf.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I talked to this guy one time. He was a home builder, funny enough. And I went to his house and I was shooting his house because he was trying to sell it. And this is a very wealthy guy. He built a ton of homes. It was a monstrous house. And he had this whole, it was like a separate, almost like a barn, like a metal building full of cars. And I'm a car guy. And I was like, this is sick. And I was asking him all these questions. He goes, I don't think I've driven any of these in like a month or two. And I was like, what the heck is wrong with you in my head? And he said something, which is he also had jet skis, which you're talking about. And he's like, man, I have these jet skis in this cars, but I have no time to use them. And I was like, how? And then you build a business, especially in the first stage, and you're like, oh, I see. And so it's almost this like curve where you like, in order to get, at least for me, in order to get kind of like the life that you want, first of all, the business becomes fun, right? So like that's something most people don't think, but it becomes fun. But it's really like you got to work more and then you can work less. And so it's kind of this interesting curve, but you just get to decide when less is, because you can always build bigger before you take that. So that's like the curse of the entrepreneur, right? Is like you just want to keep going, which I think really isn't a curse. It's awesome. So hopefully you get to play some more golf coming up this year. Not this summer though, because you're in Arizona. You're gonna die out there. It's too hot.
I'm a big summer golfer. I'll golf in the 115 degrees for $20.
When I lived in Scottsdale for like 8 months, about a year and a half ago, and I would see like these guys, and they're old. They're like in their 80s, and you could see the sweat. And I'm like, this can't be safe. Anyway, Rod, what's your last question for Mr. Jordan?
Oh man, I might not have one, but one that's coming to my mind is something that someone asked me yesterday, just to me, and kind of want to hear your thoughts on it too. Their apprehension is I don't want to bother agents. When I reach out to them, I feel like I'm bothering them. When I cold call them, I feel like I'm bothering them. right? So like you mentioned cold calling, Instagram method. Like, did you ever run into that kind of feel, and how did you combat that, or what did you notice from that, or just reaching out to agents? Kind of what was the feel behind that?
Yeah, I am a big I don't want to bother people type of person. So I definitely dealt with that a lot. I think the biggest thing that I realized was this is their job. They're doing all of this stuff as well. They're reaching out to people and they're cold calling and they're doing all of that stuff to get leads and all that. So it's kind of this. I think when I first started doing the Instagram method, when you first start and you go in there and you see that everyone commenting on a realtor's video is like a lender and another person, like it's all people doing the Instagram method. And then it makes you feel better because you're like, this is just what everybody does. And so I quickly like got over the fact that I feel like I'm bothering people and have taken that to like a let's work together type. Like I'm calling you to be like, hey, I got something that's going to help you. Let's try to work together. If you like it, not, or whatever, it's no different to me. But I've found that works really well if you're just trying to like help them out and work with them,
Yeah, because you believe in the product too. I think, for a lot of it's like when we talk about like sales and like sales people, most people only know what a bad one looks like. And that's the one that gives you the bad taste, like the person who won't stop pushing you and that kind of stuff. But that's not really what, good sales is anyway. Like the best sales is when you have a product that can actually help them and you get to talk with them about it. And so Jared always says like, with the Instagram method, the model generally is like give them a first shoot free, right? And a lot of people like they feel that same hesitation. It's like you're giving them free ice cream is how he says it. I'm like, that's such like an elementary way to boil it down, but it really is like you're giving them something great and there's no risk to them. Like the only risk is that their time, right? And like they have to have you in front of their clients and that kind of stuff. But I love that reframe of like it's normal because they're doing that and they're getting that done to them all the time, and that's just how the industry works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh yeah, go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, and like even when you start to get a lot of realtors that will only use you for the free shoot, because there's a lot of those. But yeah. I've gotten to the point to where now, like, I actually look forward to those because it's my chance to like try to blow their mind.
You can win them over anyway.
Yeah.
Dude, that's such a good frame. It's funny. That's like you hear that from a lot of people is like, it becomes like a challenge. Even if you have like a mad client later, you kind of are like, I can make them happy. Watch this, like, learn how to like play the game a little bit. So anyway, Jordan, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I'm more excited to hear you also had a great month in January. So
yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
We'll keep at it, and all the best to you. We'll talk soon. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, man.
See you later, Jordan.